I saw your things about what we're going to learn now. It's okay, fair enough. Yes. Why not? You can start.
Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Genesis class live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg of the Noahide World Center. I believe he's still continuing with some ethics of the fathers. Wonderful, wonderful material. Forgive me, I got a bit of a common cold, and so my voice is a little off, but I'll do the best I can. And let's jump right in, say hello to the rabbi. Shalom, Rabbi Goldberg. You're live on the air. We're going to turn the class over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening from Jerusalem. Hope everything is fine. By us, we still have a war, but we will manage. We will do it. It will continue on. We had great news last week, but I'm not going to speak about this now. I'm going to speak about this hopefully next week. We're organizing the news, we're explaining the news. It will be written, it will be published, everything else. But I will hint, okay, that there is a beginning of good discussion also with the Muslims around the world. And hopefully, we are going to move to the next stage of the world with the help of God also. But let's dive inside to the ethics of the fathers. We just started. Let me find where I had it somewhere. Here it is. You can't see my screen, right? Let's share the screen. Let's share the screen. Now we have it here. So we have it. It's interesting also. No, I don't know if I explained this, but I will say this. I will give an explanation. The Mishnah, now it's here in Hebrew. Let me see if I can do it in English. And yes, let's do it in English for a moment, okay? The Mishnah is basically being splitted to 6 parts, okay? So the first one is everything that is related to agriculture, what we call Zraim. Let's not forget that the Hebrew nation, when they came to Israel, one of the things that they did, they were working a lot in the farms, and they were growing up a lot of things, and there are a lot of explanations what to do and how to deal with this thing. The Mishnah is the Torah Shebe'al Peh. Said then we have everything that is related to the holidays, to the holy times, to the time itself. Then we have all the relation between family, inside the family, between husband and wife, and everything that is related with the family. Then we have everything that is related between men and his fellow men, damages, a very long thing of damages. And the last two are related with the holy things. One is related with all of the sacrifices that we have. And the last one is related with the purity. So this is more or less the structure of the 6 parts of the Mishnah. The most interesting thing is that the ethics of the father, what we call Pirkei Avot, is the last one of damages. Now the question is why? The ethics of the father is explaining to us how to behave in a moral way. What is the relation with the damages? So everybody is explaining that if you will behave in a moral way, you won't do damage to your friends. And this is true. But then the question will be, so why is it the last one in the damages? Why it's opening with other things? Why we're not starting with ethics of the fathers? Because this is the foundation of it. How do I behave with my fellow friend, with a fellow man? So I need to know how to behave, and then I know if I will do damage. So the explanation that we have, or one of the, I think the most nice explanation that I know, is if someone, God forbid, is ill, he's going to the doctor, and the doctor is saying to him, don't eat this and don't eat that. So he might listen to him, he might not listen to him, but the doctor will say, if you will eat this, this and this what will happen to you. And if you will eat this and this what will happen to you. The second doctor, when he is saying this in such a way, people are much more frightened to eat those things they are not allowed to eat. And this is what's happening here. First of all, we are learning what will happen if you're not behaving in the right way. And then at the end, we're telling you, now that you understand the consequences of your behavior, now let's learn how to behave. And this is how the structure of this thing that we call the Pirkei Avot, or the Ethics of the Father, is coming at the end. We are really in the beginning of the Ethics of the Father, in chapter 1. And in chapter 1, we have a lot of things. We're going to, we saw this last week, we started to speak about this thing, and we saw this. Now I want to teach, I want to speak, to discuss a bit what exactly they're teaching us. But before, we need to understand what is the meaning of the Knesset Agdolah, the big assembly. When they came back from Babylon, okay, after 70 years, they were in an exile of 70 years in Babylon. When they came back from Babylon, one of the things that they did, Ezra, okay, he was a prophet. One of the things that he did, he organized a big assembly. And in this assembly, they saw that the Hebrew nation is going to a long exile. By the way, we, the Hebrew nation, we read it in the history in a way that the exile started in Babylon, and there was some sort of a period of time of 200 years that we were in Israel, part of us, not all of us, only part of the people, of the Hebrew people came back. But basically, since then, we are in a big exile. There was also some sort of a time that we were in Israel, or part of us were in Israel. Not all of us were in Israel. But this assembly, when they realized that we are going out to the big exile, and they were, I will say, they prepared themselves, they prepared us, the Hebrew nation, how to behave, or what exactly are the main points that we need to do in this big exile that we're going to have. One of the things that they did, they built up the structure of prayers. Now, we all know this book, okay, of the prayer of the Brit Olam book, that hopefully very soon we will have also a full version, an exact version, also in the Netherlands language, right? But we are organizing it, we're working on it. It's deep inside to work on this thing. But we have it in a few languages. But the structure of this prayer is being organized by this big assembly. Because this is what the Maimonides is explaining. We were already in few places in the world, mainly in Babylon and in Israel, but we didn't spoke in the Hebrew language, and we almost lost the Hebrew language. Or only the sages knew the Hebrew language. And when someone wanted to daven, to pray, the word daven, I think it's coming from German, but I'm not sure. But when someone wanted to pray, he didn't know exactly how to express himself in the right way. And the big assembly, one of the things that they did, they wrote down the exact blessings, the exact prayer. That there is a structure of the prayer. Okay, it's supposed to be in combining more than just myself. I'm not only praying for myself, praying for something with my community, with the nation, with something for the world. It's also related, what exactly are the questions that I'm asking? What exactly is the order of the question? Everything there is a bit also with I will say, with the last ingredients of prophecy. We all know that prophecy is God speaking with men, and the answer is by praying back. they were still the last people of the prophecy, and they reorganized before we losing this prophecy. They organized the prayers or the structure of the prayers. So they did a lot of things, but there are three things in a very important thing that they said. And please, Dan, if it's okay to read this Mishnah, and then we will start to explain things.
Sure, Rabbi. Moses received the Torah at Sinai and transmitted it to Joshua, Joshua to the elders, and the elders to the prophets, and the prophets to the men of the great assembly. They said three things: be patient in the administration of justice, raise many disciples, and make a fence around the Torah.
So we have here three things that they're speaking. First of all, let's explain those things, and then we will see that it's also hiding more levels of profound levels of what exactly they're trying to explain. So the first one is very simple. They said three things. It will be patient in the administration of justice. What that is saying? Basically saying that you need to, when someone is coming in front of the judge, and the sages are the judges, okay? Don't say to yourself, okay, I know this case. I already had a case like that. Very simple, I can decide what to do. No, be patient, listen to exactly to what they have to say, learn it, go to sleep on this one night, to take your mind about it. Be with the patient about these things. So this is the first thing about the justice. Second thing is that raise many displaced and make many displaced. Okay, have a lot of students. This is the second thing that they're saying. And the last one is do fences, give more broader, okay, for the Torah, around the Torah. So if, for example, I'll give an example. There is a time that husband and wife are not allowed to have a sexual relationship. So in those times, don't say to yourself, okay, but I have permission to hug my wife. No, take a bit of border with yourself, okay? Don't even hug her. I'm giving you this as an example. I can give a lot of examples, okay? I will give another example. The Shabbat. We all know the Shabbat. There is a lot of halachic restricted things how to keep the Shabbat. But we're starting the Shabbat a few minutes before the Shabbat. I don't know if you knew that. We're starting the Shabbat a few minutes before the Shabbat. Sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes even half an hour before the Shabbat. Why? It's not that we're supposed to start the Shabbat so early, but we're doing this as some sort of offense. And even if, I will get stuck and I will do more things, another few minutes, still I will have time more broader before the Shabbat. So this is basically what are the three things that they say. But I want to go a bit inside to this a bit more. And for that, I want to jump for a moment to, just a moment, I'm sorry, to a story that we have. Where it is? A story that we have in the beginning of let's start from the beginning. Story that we have in the first Babylon Talmud. Okay, it's in not Tanakh, Mishnah, Talmud. Okay, I'm in English. In Brachot, it's in page 28. Let me find it. Page 28. Okay, there's a story. And the story is basically some sort of a very large argument inside this big assembly. Now, but we're speaking about almost 400 years after this Mishnah, okay? The Mishnah here in the beginning is starting from the beginning of the big assembly, okay? Now we're going to a stage where the Temple Mount, the second Temple Mount already is being destroyed. the big assembly is not in Jerusalem because Jerusalem is being destroyed, and they're sitting in another place on the shore. It's called Yavne v'Chachamia, and there is a very big, I will say, debate inside this big assembly, how to continue to progress with the Hebrew nation before the big exile of the 2,000 years. Those sages don't know that it's 2,000 years. The sages know that it's a very long one, a very, very long one. Okay? And now let's see for a moment what was the big debate. One of the things, the debates. The debate was between Rabban Gamliel, who was the head of the big assembly, with Rabbi Yoshua, another very big sage in his days. And because he was very restricted with his second rabbi, the people were very upset with Rabban Gamliel, and they decided to remove him from his authority. Okay, let's see it for a moment. It's inside. I'll go a bit backwards, just a moment. Let me go back to the Hebrew. It will be much easier for me to navigate in the Hebrew. With your permission, you will see also the English. Don't be afraid. Here it is. Please go up. Oh, okay. So it's starting like that. Please read this part, okay? Just a moment. We don't need to go too much. There was a debate. There was a big argument, okay? And at the end, please let's read this part, please.
Okay. In the meantime, Rabbi Gamliel was the Nasi, was sitting and lecturing, and Rabbi Yehoshua all the while was standing on his feet. Because Rabbi Gamliel did not instruct him to sit, he remained standing in deference to the Nasi. This continued for some time until it aroused great resentment against Rabbi Gamliel, and all of the people assembled began murmuring and said to Chutzpit, the disseminator, stop conveying Rabbi Gamliel's lecture, and he stopped.
Okay, this situation is like that. Rabban Gamliel is sitting down. He is the head of this assembly. He is sitting down. There was a debate between him and Rabbi Yoshua, and Rabbi Yoshua stood, and he didn't let him to sit down. Also, Rabbi Yoshua was a very big sage. Okay, he was secondary to Rabban Gamliel, but Rabban Gamliel was very strict and didn't let him to sit down, and everybody was really upset, and they decided to stop him. Stop Rabbi Gamliel, okay? And they have this debate inside themselves. We're not going to read it. Who exactly to pick up, to raise up instead of Rabbi Gamliel? At the end, they're deciding about someone, okay? And you know what? Let's read this one, okay? They suggested, please, let's read this one.
Yeah, rather, can you scroll it up a little bit so I can start from the top? Rather, suggested the sages, let us establish Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah in his place. His outstanding characteristics set him apart from other candidates. He is wise, rich, and a 10th generation descendant of Ezra. The Gemara explains he is wise, so if Rabban Gamliel raises a challenge in matters of Torah, he will answer it and not be embarrassed. And he is rich, so if the need arises to pay homage to the Caesar's court and serves as a representative of Israel to lobby and negotiate, he has sufficient wealth to cover the costs of the long journeys, taxes, and gifts. So he, too, is able to go and pay homage. And he is a 10th generation descendant of Ezra, so he has the merit of his ancestors, and Rabban Gamliel will be unable to cause him to be punished. They came and said to him, would the master consent to being the head of the yeshiva? He said to them, I will go and consult with my household. He went and consulted with his wife, and she said to him.
In a moment, it's also a bit of Picantarian story, so we'll read it. But first of all, we're speaking about 10 generations from the Mishnah. The Mishnah that we spoke now, okay, the Mishnah that we're speaking now, that you will see, you will understand what's happening. The Mishnah that we're speaking now is speaking about Ezra. Ezra, who came back from Babylon, he is part of this last people of this big assembly. Now we're speaking about 10 generations after that, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, okay, is 10 generations after that. And also Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, okay, the one that they want to nominate him, is also 10 generations after that, and after those this thing. And they're asking him, do you wish or are you willing to accept to become the head of the assembly? What is the problem? He's 18 years old. Right? Only 18 years old. 18. 1-8. This is it. So he's going to ask his wife. Interesting, huh? Okay, you need to get advice from your wife. Let's read it for a moment, just that we will realize what's happening, and I will say a few words about it, please.
Okay, she said, there is room for concern. Perhaps they will remove you from office just as they removed Rabbi Gamliel. He said to her, based on the folk saying, let a person use an expensive goblet one day and let it break tomorrow. In other words, one should take advantage of an opportunity that presents itself, and he need not concern himself whether or not it will last. She said to him, you will have no white hair, and it is inappropriate for one so young to head the sages. The Gemara relates, that day he was 18 years old. A miracle transpired for him, and 18 rows of hair turned white. The Gemara comments that explains that which Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, I am as one who is 70 years old, and he did not say, I am 70 years old, because he looked older than he actually was.
So we see that the wife is not so, I will say, happy. She's not pushing him to do this. She's just, she's trying to avoid him from doing it. Okay, she's saying to him, you know, now they're putting you up, but they will take you down. And he's answering, okay, now that I'm up, I'm up. After that, I will be down. She's saying to him, but you don't have a white beard. So he's answering, fair enough. But at night, he's going to sleep. In the morning, he's waking up, and his beard is even white than Bart. You know, right beard, that's it. So, but at the end, he's taking it. But he's only 18 years old, and he's saying, I'm just like 70 years old. He's looking like 70 years old, but he's only 18 years old. It's also a question of relation between husband and wife. We are learning here how much it's important to have, I will say, the right relationship one with each other, not to have the honor one with each other. And if you want to do something, you need to have the agreement of your wife of taking, you know, very important roles or things like that. It's not something that you allowed to say to yourself, I'm by myself. No, now we have partnership. You need to work together. It's reminding me a bit what happened in India. One of the women there stood up and said that they don't have, when we were there in last August. So she stood up and she said, we don't have a full responsibility at home. We don't have the possibilities of learning like they made. We don't have the responsibility of the finance until the Noahide movement came. Suddenly we have everything. And then we asked also the male people there, you know, the husband people there, what's happening. And they said to us that it's giving a lot of blessing to the family, to know, to involve one each other, and to understand that we are togetherness. So fair enough. But now all of this was only an opening to learn something a bit else. And this is what I wanted to show. What happened on the day that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah became the headmaster of the big assembly. Okay? This is why we read it, and this is related straight ahead to this part of the Mishnah that we said that you need to have a lot of students, please.
Okay, it was taught on that day that they removed Rabbi Gamliel from his position and appointed Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah in his place, There was also a fundamental change in the general approach of the study hall as they dismissed the guard at the door and permission was granted to the students to enter. Instead of Rabbi Gamliel's selective approach that asserted that the students must be screened before accepting them into the study hall, the new approach asserted that anyone who seeks to study should be given opportunity to do so. As Rabbi Gamliel would proclaim and say, any student who's inside his thoughts and feelings are not like his outside, i.e., his conduct and his character traits are lacking, will not enter the study hall.
We have here a very big argument between two big rabbis in this period of time. Are we going to bring inside only people who are appropriate, okay, who their behavior is good, or we're going to teach everybody? Unless we know that he's inappropriate, so we will push him aside. But usually we'll say that everybody have the possibility of coming and learning, and we hope that one of them will be the next generation who is holding the Torah, who is giving the Torah to the next generation. Rabban Gamliel, in his thought, in his state of mind, he said, no, only those who we know that they have the possibility, that they have good manners, that we know that they are from good families, only then we're going to bring inside. Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah said, no, we're going to open the gates. Everybody can come inside. 700 more places, 300 more places, depends on the exactly what happened there. And we need to understand also Rabban Gamliel, okay, why he said it. But since then, this is basically the issue. The issue is to teach Torah to everybody. Everybody who wants it. Since, I think that we said it more than once, since the Holocaust, we're also teaching Torah to Noahide. Noahide for sure can learn Torah, but speaking also for those who are not Noahide. This is relating straight ahead to this part of the Mishnah that we said here, raise many disciplines, okay, as maximum that you can do. As much as you can do. There's also another verse, okay, let me find it straight there. It will take me a minute to find it. Sorry. There's another verse that I need to move you aside, I'm sorry. There's another verse, very interesting verse, that our sages are saying from the all the time I have problems how to pronounce this thing, okay? No, exactly. Yes, exactly. You see, you said the Hebrew one. It's much easier to say the Hebrew one. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ecclesiastes, yeah.
So in Ecclesiastic we have sitting here in such a okay. This is a very interesting verse, okay, in chapter 11, verse 6. Please read verse 6 here.
Verse 6. In the morning sow your seed, and in the evening do not withhold your hand, for you know not which will succeed, this one or that one, or whether both of them will be equally good.
Basically, it is hinting, like Rabbi Akiva. I think we spoke about Rabbi Akiva. We spoke about him already this year, that he had 24,000 couple of students. Okay, we're speaking about the enormous amount of students that he had, and all of them died in the big rebellion of Bar Kokhba. Okay, now after that, Rabbi Akiva went and taught only 6 students, and from there we have all of the oral Torah that we have today. So in the morning, he had 24,000 students. At the evening, he didn't get exhausted. He didn't say to himself, okay, I did my things, now God, it's his responsibility. No. Rabbi Akiva said, in the morning I gave students. In the evening, I will bring more students. In the evening, on the last days of my life, even though I had already so many students, he went to the south and he taught only 6. This is what our sages are saying in Pirkei Avot there in the beginning, in this Mishnah, that we are not allowed to stop of bringing students and more students to this thing. אני בשיעור עם בני נוח, אני אחזור לך אחר כך. אני בשיעור עם בני נוח, מחר בבוקר נדבר, בסדר? בסדר גמור, תודה, ביי. So this is the main thing that we have, what we're saying here, this part. The first part we explained in a simple way, and the last part is that we need to do all sorts of boundaries to keep the Torah in the right way, in a full way. And all of those things basically are giving us a foundation for holding the Torah. But I want to go to another level. After we understood those three, we understand them. The first one is to be patient with the justice. Second one is to do our best to have more and more students to pass the flame to others, like we do in the I don't know how do you call it, where they have all the sport once every 4 years, the Olympics. The Olympics is passing the flame from one to each other, and the same thing. Don't hesitate to continue on to pass the flame to one and to other and to others. And the last thing is to build more fences to the Torah, to build the Torah. But we can also say this, that it's related also to, I will call it, to the human being. When we're saying to be patient in justice, this is the relationship between men and his fellow men. Okay? It's not only speaking to the judges, it's also speaking with us as human beings. And when we want to judge someone, we're doing this 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times a day. We see someone who is doing this or that, or he's doing to us, and we're starting to judge him. We're deciding for him that he did it in this way, in that way. He was against us, he was for us. We're judging. We all the time judging people. Be patient. Take it, with the breathe of it, and try to judge him in a careful way, in good eye. Maybe it was a mistake, maybe it wasn't against you, maybe it was something else. Be patient with your judgment against others, between men and his fellow men. When we're saying the last one, okay, put fence around the Torah, is basically to be in a good shape, in a good manner between you and God. Okay? Now, when we're saying that to bring more and more students, there is a saying in the Hebrew sages that it says like that everyone who is teaching someone else Torah, it's like it's his own son. I think we saw that once, but I will show this again. We have it here. Just a moment. I will show this here. In Numbers, I think it's chapter 3. I think it's chapter 3. Yes. Please read verse 1 and 2.
Numbers chapter 3. These are the descendants of Aaron and Moses on the day that the Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai. These are the names of the sons of Aaron: Nadab, the firstborn, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar.
What are we missing here? In verse number 2, what are we missing? Look again, verse number 1, and something is missing in verse number 2.
It says the descendants of Aaron and Moses, and there's no descendants of Moses in there.
So why are we mentioning? So why are we mentioning Moses? Let's see Rashi for a moment. Okay, please. You see, You have exact question of Rashi. Very nice. Please.
Right. These are the descendants of Moses and Aaron, yet only the sons of Aaron are mentioned. However, they are considered descendants of Moses because he taught them Torah. This teaches us that whoever teaches Torah to the son of his fellow man, Scripture regards it as if he had begotten him.
So we
Interesting.
have here something very simple. Okay. Now, if we will jump back to this, to the Mishnah that we're standing on, we have here the three main relationships that we spoke. Man with himself, okay, the justice. The justice man with his fellow man. When you're teaching other Torah, it's like your son. This is man with himself. And to do offense to the Torah, this is man with God. We see that those three, I will say, guidance that the big assembly is teaching us is that we need to all the time combine together those three relationships in the right way, in the right balance between them, not to lose one balance to another one. There are those who will do a lot of offenses of the Torah, but they won't behave in the right way, in the right manner with their fellow men or with the families. You have those who have a very good relationship inside the family, but not with the neighbors or not with God. No. You need to have the right balance between all three kinds of relationships that you have here. So it's also teaching us the right relationship with us, with the world. It's not only something that is related to the Hebrew people, it's also related with man, with himself. But I want to go another profound way, or another way to explain what's happening here in those three things. In the Hebrew tradition, we have different, I will say, words to different sides of the soul that we have. I know that in English it's a bit hard because we have only one word. The word is soul. In Hebrew we have nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. We have all sorts of words, okay, to this part of the soul. So let me do some sort, I will say, of differences, okay? There is the part, we call this nefesh, the most lowest part of the soul, and it's related with the body, and how the nefesh, this part of the soul, is being, I will say, performing itself. It's by actions, okay? Doing actions. There is the side of what we call the ruach, the wind, the breath, okay? How the breath is expressing itself? By speaking. When I'm speaking, I'm taking out the breath. And for speaking, I need to breathe. This is the second part of the soul. Now, there is also another part, a higher part of the soul. And this part, we call this the soul, neshama. And this is how this part is performing itself, is showing itself to the world by thinking. Now, lately, we had, last week or 2 weeks ago, it was published that they managed to put some sort of a chip inside the brain, and the chip is managing to read what we're thinking. Very unique, very new thing in this world. But basically, the thinking is a part of the soul, the part of the breath, the ruach, is speaking, and the part of the nefesh, part of the, I will call it the part of the body, or the living side of the body, is by doing an action. We have it also in verses. You want to see this in verses? I will show this in verses. I think it's important to see them in verses for a moment. No, come on. I'm sorry for once. Let's go to Torah. Let's go to Levitax. And let's see for a moment. 18. Very nice. 29. Please read 29. I will say, we're speaking about chapter 18. Chapter 18 is teaching us about immoral sexual behavior, and it's concluding immoral sexual behavior is related to the action of the body, and it's concluding that the punishment that will happen, okay? A punishment and the reward. So let's read 29.
29. For anyone who commits any of these abominations, the person doing so shall be cut off from the midst of their people.
So we're speaking here in Hebrew, nefashot, nefesh. Nefesh is the most lowest one. Also, that they're doing action, physical action. So we said nefesh, most lowest one, okay? And ose, action, it's related with the body. Let's go to something else. Let's go to there's also a reason why we're going on this part. Let's go to Samuel. Second Samuel, okay? Samuel 2nd, chapter 23. Not 22. Please read verse number 2.
Okay, 2 Samuel 23, verse 2. The Spirit of the Lord spoke in me, and his word was upon my tongue.
We have a spirit. A spirit is the ruach. I said ruach is the breath, okay, the spirit. It's a soul, but it's a spirit of the soul, okay? And what happened with the spirit? Ruach is speaking. We said the spirit is speaking. We have action, the lowest part of the soul. We have the second part of the soul is the spirit one, and this is the speaking, okay? And now let's see the last one is the soul one, okay? And the soul one is in Ishaya. We'll go to Ishaya. Where is it? It is. We go to Ishaya chapter 11. This is more or less the opening of Ishaya. People don't know exactly how to read Ishaya, but this is something else. And Ishaya 11, number 4.
Verse 4, and he shall judge the poor justly, and he shall chastise with equity the humble of the earth, and he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall put the wicked to death.
So the breath of his lips is related to the ruach. But what exactly it starts? It starts with this the breath of the lip of his lips. It's the same thing of what we said, the ruach. Okay, the speaking about the soul, and the mindset. We don't have in the Bible the mindset too much, so I won't bring anything. But I want to go back to the Mishnah that we spoke here, and we have 3 different things that the big assembly is teaching us. The first one is related with what? Again, we said that it's also related to the human being, okay? So the first one is related with the justice. Justice is something that you're doing inside your head. This is related to the most highest part of the spirit. You're thinking with yourself, you're listening to everything, and you're deciding inside yourself, inside your mind, inside your most highest level of the spirit, what exactly you need to decide. It could be also with the relation with your friend when you're judging him, okay? Or if you're a judge, okay, that you're judging in the court. To have a lot of students that you're teaching Torah, how do you teach Torah? Speaking. This is a side. Torah, we are speaking. We're not just thinking about the Torah. We're also saying, we're teaching one each other, we're speaking one with each other. This is the side of the Ruach. And the last one, okay, of putting fence to the Torah, the fence, as we can hear also. So it's something that we physically, we adding more time, we adding more place. When I spoke about the fence, the first example that I gave is immoral sexual behavior with your spouse, with your wife, okay, or with your husband. When you're not allowed, so you need to put a fence that you won't touch each other in the times that you're not allowed. Okay, this is the best fence that we have to give as an example. So here we have also another profound understanding how to repair, how to bring yourself to a higher level, and the guidance with your mind, with your mouth, and with your action to be closer to God and to be in much more pure situation. And we see that this assembly, okay, is starting to give the oral Torah by guidance that is giving few levels. First of all, the level to the community, to the Hebrew tradition, to the Hebrew people, okay, with those three things. In the court be with the patient, bring more and more students. We don't know who exactly is going to be the best one that will give the Torah to the next generation, and also give fences to the Torah, so we will keep the Torah. But it's also going on to another side, and the other side is the relationship between you and your friends, relationship between you and yourself, and relationship between you and God. It's also going to another side, another profound side. It's also teaching you with yourself how to improve, or how to put in your mind and in your mouth and in your behavior the right to be careful to do this in the right way that will bring you to the next step. This is the first, I will say, direction that the first assembly is giving us to open, to beginning as a beginning, I will say it like that, of this ethics of the fathers. From now on, there will be another person, a very important one, that we're going to read in the second Mishnah, okay? If you can read the second Mishnah, it's very important. That will say three things together, and from there on, it's going to be splitted. One will speak about this, one will speak about that. Please read the second Mishnah.
Shimon the righteous was one of the last of the men of the great assembly. He used to say, the world stands upon three things: the Torah, the temple service, and the practice of acts of piety.
First of all, we have here, straight ahead, we can see, okay? The Torah, temple practice, okay? And you say it piety. We call it in Hebrew Gemilut Chasadim. Piety is between man and his fellow man, right? Torah is man with himself, and the temple service is between man and God. Again, we're going to those three relationships that we have. We need to learn it. The most important thing that we need to see is, why do we call him Shimon the righteous? Who is he? What is he? Now, it's very important also, when we're learning the ethics of the fathers, to understand who is speaking, who is saying those the words that is going out from him. So I want to show for a moment a bit about Shimon the righteous. And I want to share another very important thing. Usually we're saying there are something like 6 or 7 ways how to describe someone who is a rabbi. Okay? What exactly is the title that we're giving him? But the most highest thing is for those we are not giving any title. He was a great rabbi. In a moment, we're going to see that. He was really one of the great rabbis. We're not giving him a title. Samuel, we're not giving him a title, okay, from the Bible, okay? He is one of the last people. Moses, we're not giving him a title. Aaron, we're not giving him a title. There is a stage in history that the most highest thing is to say the name of someone. And Shimon is he's the last one, basically, that we're saying his name. We're not giving him a title, not as a rabbi, not as there are 6, 7 titles. We will meet them along this thing. But let's see for a moment what exactly this Shimon, because we don't have a lot of time. Okay, let's start. I will try to do as much as possible. Let me move you again here. Let's go to the beginning. We have here in the time part, we have on the most important day that we have, it's Yom Kippur, and we have 2 stories about Shimon in Yom Kippur. Okay, one story is let's read. One story is showing, I will say, how much he was righteous, and the other one is an amazing story. And we need to see those 2 stories to understand who was this Shimon the righteous. I'm in the right way, just a moment. Oh, here it is. Please read these parts. Done.
All right. The sages taught during all 40 years that Shimon HaTzadik served as high priest, the lot for God arose in the right hand. From then onward, sometimes it arose in the right hand, and sometimes it arose in the left hand. Furthermore, during his tenure as high priest, the strip of crimson wool that was tied to the head of the goat that was sent to Azazel turned white, indicating that the sins of the people had been forgiven, as it is written, "Though your sins be as crimson, they shall be white as snow," from Isaiah 1:18. From then onward, it sometimes turned white, and sometimes it did not turn white. Furthermore, the western lamp of the candelabrum would burn continuously as a sign that God's presence rested upon their nation. From then onward, it sometimes burned and it sometimes went out.
We have here Shimon the Hatzadik. It's a righteous, okay? It's the same word in Hebrew, Hatzadik. He was the high priest. And there are a few things in his days that were, just like the book. One of the things that they were supposed to do is some sort of a lottery, okay, between 2 goats, who is going to Azazel and who is going to be sacrificed in front of God. In his days, always in the right hand, he took the right one, even though it was a lottery. From there onwards, sometimes it was in the right hand, sometimes it was in the left hand. Another thing that we see is that this string that they had put on the head of the goat that was going to Azazel was always becoming white, not only on the string on the goat, but also on the string that they left in the Temple Mount, the second half of the string. It was becoming from red to white, always in his days. After that, sometimes it came white, sometimes it didn't, it stayed red. And another thing that every morning in his days, when they woke up and look and wanted to light again the candle inside the Temple Mount, it was always in his days, it was always still lightning from the night. After that, sometimes more, sometimes less. But let's continue on. We're starting to realize that Shimon HaTzadik, the righteous, is a bit, a high-level high priest, call it like that. Let's continue on a bit. There's more things that they're bringing. that there was also a lot of blessings. You know what? We can read it. There was a lot of blessings inside the food in his days. But it's also very interesting. Okay, let's read this one. See, let's start to realize what exactly this Shimon HaTzadik is. Okay, so read this, please.
Forgive me, I'm taking notes. Okay, the sages taught during the year in which Shimon HaTzadik died, he said to them, his associates, in this year he will die, euphemistically referring to himself. They said to him, how do you know? He said to them, in previous years on every Yom Kippur, upon entering the Holy of Holies, I was met in a prophetic vision by an old man who was dressed in white, and his head was wrapped up in white. And he would enter the Holy of Holies with me, and he would leave with me. But today I was met by an old man who was dressed in black, and his head was wrapped up in black. And he entered the Holy of Holies with me, but he did not leave with me. He understood this to be a sign that his death was impending. Indeed, after the festival of Sukkot, he was ill for 70 days and died. Wow.
Speaking about, someone that is more or less a bit related to the angels. There are more stories about him. I want to share another one story, just to understand who is this Rabbi Shimon HaTzadik, Rabbi Shimon, the righteousness, okay? That he is giving us advices, but let's learn a bit. This is someone that is almost, with the angels. He's not here in our world 100%. He's there, and he's from time to time coming to visit us here. I want to share another very, very amazing story that we have about him. Okay, so for that, I need to go back to, it's the same part. Why did I close it? Never mind. Let's read it. Okay, let's read it. There was a very big debate between the Hebrew people and the Kutim. Kutim is people that were brought to the Samarian. Till today, they're still here. They were brought to Samarian from Africa. Okay, so let's read these parts. Let's start. Please.
Okay, what occurred on that date? It was on that day that the Samaritans, the Kutim, requested the house of our Lord from Alexander the Macedonian in order to destroy it, and he gave it to them. He gave them permission to destroy it. People came and informed the high priest Shimon HaTzadik of what had transpired. What did he do? He donned the priestly vestments and wrapped himself in the priestly vestments, and the nobles of the Jewish people were with him, with torches of fire in their hands. And all that night these, the representatives of the Jewish people, approached from this side, and those, the armies of Alexander and the Samaritans, approached from that side, until dawn, when they finally saw one another.
Fair enough, okay? Think about this for a moment. We're speaking about the Alexander, the big Alexander who conquered all of the world.
Alexander the Great, yeah.
Yeah, he's even bigger than Joe Biden, okay? He's bigger than everybody else. He's one of the biggest that we had here in this world, who conquered everybody, all the world, everything was under his hands. And we have the people that want to destroy the Temple Mount. Well, now we saw Shimon HaTzadik, righteous. Now let's see what is happening, okay? Let's read this one.
When dawn arrived, Alexander said to the Samaritans, "Who are these people coming to meet us?" They said to him, "These are the Jews who rebelled against you." When they reached Antipatris, the sun shone, and the two camps met each other. When Alexander saw Shimon HaTzadik, he descended from his chariot and bowed before him. His escort said to him, "Should an important king such as you bow to this Jew?" He said to them, "I do so because the image of this man's face is victorious before me on my battlefields. When I fight, I see his image going before me as a sign of victory, and therefore I know that he has supreme sanctity." Huge.
Wow. Really huge. Okay. Suddenly we understand that in behind the scenes, this big Alexander, okay, the Alexander the Great, is basically feeling or understanding that his victory in all of his management, that he is managing to conquer all the world under him, is related to this interesting Jew, interesting righteous Jew that there is there. And then, you understand that the continuance of the story is very simple. And let's read it for a moment, just that we will know how the story is finalizing. Please.
Okay, he said to the representatives of the Jewish people, "Why have you come?" They said to him, "Is it possible that the temple, the house in which we pray for you and for your kingdom, not be destroyed? Gentiles will try to mislead you into destroying it, and we would remain silent and not tell you." He said to them, "Who are these people who want to destroy it?" The Jews said to him, "They are these Samaritans who stand before you." He said to them, "If so, they are delivered into your hands to deal with them as you please."
Okay, and they did whatever they wanted to do. Everything was fine. As you understand, the Temple Mount wasn't destroyed by Alexander the Great, and he really admired the Jews. Now that we're starting to understand who is this Shimon HaTzadik, who is this Shimon the Righteous, we can realize how come Shimon, this great Shimon HaTzadik, can explain to us or express to us something that is related to between man and himself. This is when you're learning the Torah. Man with God for doing all the things inside the Temple Mount, and man with his fellow men by doing righteousness and good things to others. And if you will go to the opposite side, what is the opposite side? The opposite side, instead of worshiping to God, worshiping to idolatry. Instead of doing good to others, the most opposite side is, God forbidden, killing others. Okay? Instead of learning the Torah and being in the right path of this world, doing immoral sexuality that is breaking all the norms of society, breaking the norms of the life here. Those are the three opposite sides things. And this is what we have here with Shimon HaTzadik, Shimon the Righteous, that is basically giving us, I will say, another step, okay, from he is, as it says here, okay, he was one of the leftovers of the big assembly. And he's giving us another step of how to live in the right way in this world, in a complete way. Man with himself, man with his fellow man, man with his man and God. So mainly, I will say it like that. You know what? I will give it in one more. We'll say. Let me go to one more verse, and with this, I will finalize what I have to say. In Hosea, where is it? Hosea. Here is Hosea. In Hosea, in chapter 4, we have a very interesting verse. The first verse in chapter 4. Please read the first verse in chapter 4.
Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. Hear the word of the Lord, O children of Israel, for the Lord has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. For there is neither truth nor loving kindness nor knowledge of God in the land.
We have three things. We are lacking three things. God is fighting against us because we are lacking three things. Truth, man with himself. Loving kindness, man with his fellow man. Knowledge of God, man with God. Those are the three things that we are lacking. Therefore, God have what to say against us, or you have something against us. I will go one step ahead that we will acknowledge it to the maximum. Abraham, we have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Abraham, he was the master of the loving kindness one with each other. You know, when he sees three angels, he doesn't know that they're angels, okay? Coming in the desert, even though he is very, he's weak because he did circumcisions 3 days earlier, but he's running to them and he's bringing them, he wanted them to eat. And we know that he was with a lot of loving kindness. Isaac, he was put in as an offering in front of God, right? This is what he did. He was in the Mount of Moriah. Abraham wanted to slaughter him. He was accepting it. So he became as an offering of God. And Jacob, and I won't go inside to this too much, I just will mention it, not in Israel. In Israel, Rachel died, but Jacob built up the house of Israel. This is how it's also written down. I know that he took two sisters. I won't go inside to this. He is fixing this problem that happened with with Adam and Eve. I won't go inside to this now. Just notable knowledge. Those three fathers are fixing those three problems that we have, but it starts with a loving kindness, and then we're speaking about knowledge of God, and then at the end, truth. By the way, it's written down that Emet Yaakov, truth to Jacob. Truth is Jacob, okay? And it's related also between man and himself. So we saw in the first two, I will say, two Mishnayot, okay, two parts of this of the ethics of the fathers, an opening of this big assembly, and the leftover of this big assembly. Think about this for a moment. He is one of the leftovers, Shimon HaTzadik, Shimon the righteous, and we saw a moment ago how much he was righteous and how much the king of the world, you know, the great what's his name, that conquered all the world, how much he respected this leftover. Think about this for a moment. 120 people that were in this big assembly, how much they were righteous. Just to knowledge, okay? How much we are far from this today. But we see that in those two guidance that they are giving us, they are, first of all, with ourselves inside, also with the relation with the rest of the world, and it's a complete thing. The next people always will speak only on one side. Usually will speak on one side. They won't speak about the full Torah. It's getting, I will say, it's getting broken to more and more and more pieces and bits and bytes of this big Torah that we have, where we need to learn all the Torah to start to realize how to behave. Now we are here only with the ground, with the roots for learning the Torah in the right way. Because you can learn the Torah and it will be some sort of how do you call it, poison. It will be poison. If you don't know how to behave, the Torah will be a poison that will bring more hard things to your behavior. But if you know how to behave like we're learning here, and you're starting to behave in the right way, when you're learning Torah, it's amplifying, it's bringing it in a much higher level, the behavior, the righteous behavior that you have. And this is what we started. So we had only this is the foundation, this is the beginning of the ethics of the fathers. Questions, notes, whatever is on your mind, if you want to speak about something else, whatever it is, this is the time, please.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful stuff, Rabbi, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I really, it really helps fill in some of the timeline when you understand that when Ezra built the second temple and Shimon Hatzarik was still alive during the time of Alexander the Great. Yeah, most historians seem to lose time between those periods of the fall of the first temple and the future, and there seems to be some
There's a
academic
lost
discrepancy.
there's a
But
lost 70 years there, something that
yeah,
not really clear, but it's the end of the second Temple Mount. We're speaking here at the beginning of the say, oh, it's more or less the beginning or the middle. No, not really middle.
yeah,
It's
I think historians put Alexander around 330, 335 BC. But that the academics also put the destruction of the first temple around 586 BC. Then you had the Babylonian captivity, and then the return after 70 years or so, which would put, if 70 years from 586 would put the return at 510, 516 BC. But the time of Ezra, I mean, to Alexander, if you're using 516, that's 180 years. And yeah, I mean, Shimon wouldn't have lived that long, of course not. So you got to look at the unfolding story.
Yeah, you're right. But again, the tradition that we have is an exact tradition. This story happened. So something there is wrong with the numbers of the historian people. But usually the historian people, they don't know, I will say like that. We don't have today the exact measurement for those ancient days. We're losing it a bit. It's not really exact. The tradition, this tradition is right. We have it also with other documentaries that we have inside the Jewish books. We have it also. By the way, who was the master? Who was the teacher of the great Alexander?
The Shimon?
No.
It was a Greek philosopher.
One of the Greek philosophers, okay? If I remember correctly, it was Aristo. No, not Aristo, sorry. Platon, if I remember correctly. Platon. And we have in other places in our books that Platon met Shimon the Righteous One. Where did they meet? They met there in this story, okay? And after that, they spoke. But we have it in other books. We have also that Platon met. By the way, he said also that they are very smart people, those Jewish people, and they're speaking about prophecy. I don't understand what they're speaking about, but they're very smart. So I understand that they know what they're speaking about. But if we will go, Platon himself, he also said that he had a demon that was teaching him. Platon, not Aristo. Aristo left on his master Platon. So he was with a lot of imagination. But Platon himself said that one of his teachers was this demon, that came and taught him a lot of things. But in other books that we have, it says that Platon met Shimon the Righteous One. So it's also going together with this theme of the
timeline, true timeline, yeah, for sure. Excellent material for sure. Does anybody in the class have any questions or comments they want to add while we got the rabbi with us? I see we got Bart and Kelly and Angelica with us. How you doing up there, Angelica, with all the we've been getting the snow lately?
Good.
Yeah, really good. Actually, we're really good. I'm going to have an information meeting on Noahide, on the 7 Noahide laws this week coming up.
Wow.
So
beautiful.
Let's see who's going to come. Yeah, and it's been good. It's been good. And I really like what Rabbi Cherky has done with Islam. I am so I'm taken away by this because it is something that is coming forward now. It's going to come, from bad, only good can come. So
Got to have dialogue at least, yeah.
yes, and I can see it coming. Might take a while, but wow, it gives me strength to keep going.
Encouragement for sure, yeah.
Totally, like, yeah, can't say too much about, like, totally awesome. Anyways, have a good one.
I will say that we have very interesting progress with this, and soon we're going to share this also with all of us, with all of the world. So it's also interesting to see the progress that we have from these starting points, from this opening that we have, and we have a lot of commitment to the whole world. We're not speaking only about Christian people, Hindu people, or whatever it is. We want to repair the world.
Yes.
The whole world.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's coming.
With the help of God, yes, Bezrat Hashem. Yes.
Rabbi Goldberg? Hi,
Sorry?
it's Kelly.
Yes. Hi, Kelly. How are you doing? Yes.
Hi. Oh, I'm doing better. Baruch Hashem. How are you? I'm sorry. I don't know if I think you're muted. Oh.
No. I'm saying we are fine. Excellent. I'm listening. Please.
Oh, that's good.
I'm closing my microphone so we can see you on the screen.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that I sent you an email, a reply to the email. Sorry it took me so long, but I've been working on lots of creating things for that page that I have, Kelly's Creations for Israel and Nations. And I've added recently the Noahide World Center now to my page. I have a few items from Noahide, but I'm actually in the process. I want to work on like a plaque or something with a painting, and then I'm going to put the 7 Noahide laws on the painting, sort of thing. So I'm working on that, and then I need more Noahide products besides Jewish products. So I'm doing both.
No, first of all, very nice. It's really encouraging. I saw this email as I answered you. Really encouraging and really nice and amazing. I will try also to send you a few more things that we can organize. And it's encouraging to know that more and more people are getting involved and getting connected to those ideas and to this thing. And thank you very much. We appreciate very much for joining this big mission that we have.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's an honor. I love it. It brings me a lot of joy, and it feels so, I don't know, so wonderful that we can have something to do. We can give of whatever we can. I think everybody can do something, if we use our creativity some way.
Fair enough. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. A lot of blessings. Fair enough. Okay. I hope it was
excellent
good
class
tonight.
Yeah.
We'll continue on. So continue on with the next. I think I answered all of your notes, Bart. I think I answered all of your notes. But you can continue on to look a bit to the next, what we call the Mishnah. Okay, the next portion of the Mishnah, and we'll continue on next week.
Excellent. Okay. Look forward to it, Rabbi. Thank you. Always good to see you. And we're praying for your safety, and we hope all is well with you in Jerusalem. So I think on that note, we'll sign out for today. So till next week, we'll be back with more Genesis class live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.